the geeky video for geeky people.
Yeah.
Okay. Something like that. Alright, welcome to this little video that we wanted to shoot about the Nordic Roaster Competition.
Winner of the hybrid is Tim Wendelboe, and the winner of the Nordic Roaster for 2019 is Tim Wendelboe!
Yay! So last weekend was the Nordic Roaster Forum here in Oslo, and I think it's the 12th time or something that the forum takes place, or 13th time. It actually started here in Oslo as a small event before the Nordic Barista Cup. So I think the first event was like a couple of roasters only, and then now we had people coming from all over the world, from Korea, from Japan, from Germany, from I don't know all the countries. So it's not just a Nordic event, it's also a national event. How was the event?
Good.
It was really good.
Yeah?
So many good lectures.
Yeah, I'm actually enjoying it so much. On 2017, I was as a volunteer, so I have been seeing this side of this competition, and it's amazing. All of the people that they just participate and organizing, they're just doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And the next 2 years, like 2018 and 19, I was like with the roasting
Attendee. So you could relax.
Yeah. I can see all of the lectures, as Marit said, but they are really interesting.
Yeah.
And
Well, just so you know, the lectures are actually filmed, so they will be online hopefully in the next week or so. What was your favorite?
Oh, maybe the one about bee pollination.
Yeah.
I think that was really interesting.
For me as well, that was the best.
I enjoyed a lot the Belko guy.
About Ethiopia? Or?
About Ethiopia.
Yeah.
It was really like interesting, like the philosophy about what they're just doing behind that, and the work and the effort and everything that they put behind the coffee bean. So I enjoyed it a lot.
And I also think if you're a roaster, you have to watch Simo's presentation.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Simo is kind of a hidden hero for a lot of people, but he's the main roaster at Solberg & Hansen, and he has been competing a lot. And we missed him this year. He didn't compete in the Nordic Roaster, but he was there to have a lecture, and it was fairly interesting. Of course, at Nordic Roaster Forum, there's lectures, and with some of them there's cupping related to the lecture afterwards. So Simo had done an experiment on airflow and drum speed on a Gießen roaster, which was quite interesting to taste. Did you find a lot of differences?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
It was really interesting. And but I'm looking forward to see the videos again, just to have a recap. And
Yeah, because it's a lot of information.
It is.
I normally do that as well. I will, like when I'm traveling, I will download the videos and watch them on an airplane or something, which is quite nice. But we're here to talk about the actual competition, and for those of you who don't know, the Nordic Roaster Competition is a competition where it used to be in the beginning that there were 10 roasters who submitted coffees, and you would calibrate your own coffee on a filter brewer. So there were 10 filter brewers lined up on one water source. And of course, we figured out after some years that if you had the brewer on the first start of the water pipe and then the last, you would get different amounts of water coming out of the brewer, which was a big problem. So now it's cupping, which means all the attendees at the forum are judging. So we're using a Cropster cupping app to evaluate the coffees. And then everyone who submits a score that's above 80 points and that scores all the coffees will be one of the judges for the competition. So I think we had like 60 people judging the coffees. And in the category 1, can you tell us a bit about category 1? We had to submit 2 coffees.
Yeah. So that was a provided coffee from Belko,
Yeah.
a company in Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a red honey, and I don't think we ever roasted that at least the Loring.
No, I mean we've had a couple of honey processed coffees from Los Pirineos.
Yeah.
We have a Pacamara now, and we'll also have an Ethiopian honey processed for Christmas.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah.
But compulsory, what does that mean?
It means that all of the competitors get the same coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's maybe the most interesting one.
Yeah.
Because we all have like the same set point.
Yeah. At least for roasters, it's
yeah.
the most interesting. I think for an attendee who is not roasting, the other category might be more interesting because then you see at least a variation of qualities that is kind of in the market in Scandinavia. But the compulsory coffee was from Costa Rica, I think.
Yes.
Honey processed.
Yes.
Obata, which is Brazilian hybrid. The theme of the kind of event and also the competition was how sustainability was kind of the overall theme, and we wanted to focus on how farmers can be more sustainable by planting hybrids. But the coffee community, like the roasting community, have been historically very skeptical to hybrids because of they think they taste worse, which we know now is not always the case. So that's why we asked Belco, which is an import company, to provide us. I think we got 45 kilos of every roaster got 45 kilos of this hybrid from Costa Rica. But it's a Brazilian hybrid, and it's a cross between Hybrido de Timor, which is again a Robusta Arabica plant, and then they back crossed it with the Via Sarchi, which is kind of similar to Caturra and Pacas. Kind of the same genetics, more or less. The good thing about these hybrids is that they are supposed to be leaf rust resistant, so that means the farmer doesn't have to spray fungicides. And just to give you a benchmark, like Elias in Finca Tamana, when he wants to keep his Caturra plants that are not resistant, when he wants to keep them healthy, he has to spray every 50 days. So that's quite a lot of applications.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do that if you have a resistant variety. So that's one of the things a farmer can do to be more sustainable and also keep the cost down. And typically these hybrids will also have quite high yields, so they produce more.
Good.
How was the roast profile on this? Do you remember? Oh, you know how many kilos we roasted? So we roasted on the roaster behind us. But this is a 35 kilo roaster. We typically do 30 kilo batches because then we have a little bit more flexibility on the power. But this time we did 3 batches of 15 kilos. And one of the things that we are measuring here is moisture content, because if the beans have high moisture content, which these beans had, I think it was like 11.7%, which is quite high. Yeah. You have to have a lot of energy in the beginning to start the drying process and to get the water out. But then, of course, you get that kind of momentum going. So that means at the first crack, if you're looking at rate of rise curves or something, you'll see a huge kind of bump at the end. So that's why we also normally go lower on heat at the end. So I think total time was 10 minutes around there. I don't remember the end temperature, but it's irrelevant.
207, but yeah.
207?
Oh, you remember that.
It's a little irrelevant because it really depends on the development time and how much energy you put in the beginning. So to talk about end temperatures, and it's kind of irrelevant. If you have another Loring, it's a little bit more relevant. But if you have a Probat or a Dietrich, I mean, on an old roaster, the end temperature will be like 170. Because the probe was placed in a different place and much thicker, and So yeah, but if you kind of want to learn more about how we roast, we do have roasting classes now.
Yeah, with Ben, who trained both of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
How was it cupping the compulsory? Because it was 10 coffees on the table, and nobody knows which one is which, and of course it's impossible, I would say, to recognize your own coffee. Did you recognize our coffee on the table in the compulsory round?
I was between two, to be honest. But
professional.
So yeah, pretty much close to Compulsory, but not on the album.
No.
No.
What about you?
I actually scored our coffee and Kaffa the same. So I was between those two.
Wow, nice. And I had actually scored April's a little bit higher by 1 point as the favorite, and then I had ours as the second favorite. And then I don't remember which one I had third, but for me it was like 3 coffees that were standing out, and the other ones were a little bit different styles. Doesn't mean they were bad. No. It was just people roast coffee differently, and they want different things to shine when they roast coffee. Which is kind of what I always say when I train people in roasting, like it's a personal taste that you have to kind of express in a product. So you can give the same coffee to 10 roasters and have 10 different results, which we clearly could see. And it's not a matter of being better or worse, it's just different expressions of the same coffee. Yeah, but we were fortunate to win that category. But I mean, the scores were very tight.
Yeah.
Really close.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really intense.
So that's the good thing about having 60 people scoring it, is that the scores are really tight. And if you look at the scores, we can probably post that in this video. If you look at the scores, it looks like it's extremely tight, but on the table there were some coffees that were clearly, not so good. And then you can see maybe they're 1 or 2 points below. But maybe 10 people really like that coffee and scored it very high. So, but it averages out quite well, I think. And the second category, what was that all about?
It was Cielito Lindo, so every competitor just had to bring coffee to compete.
But not just any coffee.
Not any coffee, in leaf rust resistant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the second category was kind of open. We normally decide the category when we have the open board meeting the year before. So last year we had the open board meeting after the symposium. And then we asked everyone who was in the room, like, what would we like to have as the second category? Normally we change 1 category per year, but it depends. So then the idea was to have more focus on these hybrids to see, how good can they actually taste. So we had any processing was allowed. So you could submit natural, carbonic, macerated, washed, honey, whatever. Even Copy Luwak if you wanted to. If it's a hybrid. Not that you would ever want to do that. But the only criteria was that the cultivar or the variety had to be a leaf rust resistant variety. We actually submitted the variety that is not considered leaf rust resistant anymore. So we were actually notified just 2 weeks before the competition that a couple of the varieties that we have listed on the competition list of allowed varieties were no longer considered resistant, which is a problem, of course, because we won that category as well. And I hope that farmers will at least really think twice before they plant this variety, because they've had instances in Honduras where this variety is starting to get leaf rust. So we're not encouraging people to do it unless you really know what you want to do. And this variety is the Icafé 90, which sometimes is confused by Lempira. Lempira is a different one, but Icafé 90 is Icafé is the coffee organization in Honduras, and 90 is probably the number of the hybrid or the selection that they made. But it's also a cross between Hybrido de Timor and I think Catura. So it's very similar to the Obatan actually, genetically. So this particular coffee came from, as you said, a farm called Cielito Lindo. And for those of you who have been following us since 2008, know that we have had this coffee before, but we haven't for many years. And I'll tell you the story behind it. Cielito Lindo is a small piece of land on top of the farm of Finca Nacimiento. Nacimiento is in Honduras, in the Santa Barbara mountain. And Jobnil, who we buy coffee from, has a father who is now over 80 years old. But his land is on top of the farm, and it's called Cielito Lindo. So it's a small little piece of land, and he grows pacas and y Café 90. Normally we'll harvest it together, and then he normally will submit it to the Cup of Excellence, where he also normally will place top 10 or top 50. And he does that because it's harvested really late, normally in June, July, and that's too late for us to ship the coffee. We normally ship our coffee in beginning of June or middle of June. So that's why we can't really access this coffee all the time, because Hobnil is starting to harvest in February, and we don't want that coffee to stay for too long in Honduras. It's kind of a logistical challenge to buy from this place, because the farm is so steep and they pick at different altitudes throughout the months. But this year I was there in March, and then I asked Hobnil and his father if they could separate the pacas and the Café 90 for us. It's fairly easy to do because the pacas is a short tree and the catimors are very big, so it's easy to see the difference. So they did that, and then I asked them to process it like they do with all our other coffees. And how did it taste like?
Delicious.
So good.
Yeah.
For me, it was almost like a Kenyan coffee, very fruity.
Yeah.
And
Red fruit, for sure. Quite winey, I would say. And I think that's partially because of the high altitude, you get intensity, but also it's harvested quite late when it's cold, quite cloudy, and that means the fermentation is also going on for a little bit longer than normal. So I think the fruit, the wininess may come from the fermentation in combination with the variety, because all their coffees have this kind of wininess and this kind of mango flavor, red fruit, red wine, and a little herbal kind of at the end, which is quite common for hybrids. And very clean, I would say, because they do pick out all the defects while it's drying. Yeah. Did you recognize it?
No, it was really hard. I was not, but I picked Phi.
Yeah.
And I think that I was really confused on which one is ours.
Yeah.
So
there were some really good coffees on the table. Apart from our own, I think the one from Cafa, which is funnily from the same area in Honduras, it's just a different variety called Parainema. That was a fantastic coffee for me. Like really intense and sweet and clean. And,
cranberry juice.
Yeah. So we will actually be sending out this coffee for our subscribers next month.
Oh.
Believe it or not. We don't have a lot of it left, so whatever is left over from our subscription we will sell in our web shop and in our store. But I think we only now have 360 kilo left of the green coffee, and we need most of that for our subscription. So if you're subscribing to our coffee, you have something to look forward to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anything else we need to talk about? Did you enjoy competing?
Yes.
What's the best part of competing, do you think?
Teamwork.
Yeah. Can you tell a little bit how we work towards the competition? Like, what's our strategy?
Yeah, but we just get the coffee and we kind of roast it in a different way, and then we pick up the best.
Yeah.
We cup the coffee. Everybody's deciding. All of us, like, we're deciding with which coffee we're gonna compete.
Yeah.
So the same with both. We had a couple of roasts on Cielito Lindo as well.
Yeah.
And then like 2 days before, we just give the coffee to the competition.
Yeah.
We just decide like with which one we're gonna participate.
So no fuss. We normally do this when we get a new coffee in-house anyway. Like, for me, we just follow the same routine.
Yeah.
We get a new coffee, we will do a test on the roaster. Doesn't really matter which one of you does the test. Sometimes I will have some instructions because we've roasted the coffee before. And based on moisture content, I think is quite important to measure before you start roasting, so that you know, okay, if it's very high moisture, you need more power than if it's lower moisture. Which happened in this case. The Cielito Lindo had low moisture and the Compulsory coffee had quite high moisture. And then we do a test. We, of course, do cup data on our production cupping, like all the other coffees. and see if we need to do some adjustments, look at the profile, try to be smart and, you know, figure something out, which we never do. It's quite difficult. So for us, it's more or less about trial and error, I think. And then we taste the results. And we didn't actually end up with the compulsory, we didn't end up with the profile we thought we would.
No.
Because we had 45 kilos only, so we did 3 roasts. The first one was a little green.
Yeah.
And then we did a second one where, Ben did some small kind of, not mistakes, but small things that we wanted to correct in the third roast. But it turned out the second roast was the best one, funnily enough.
Yeah.
And with the Silito Lindo, it was kind of like that, but we changed the one we submitted last minute. Because we did cup it the day before we had to submit the coffee, and us 3, we had 3 roasts to choose from, and we selected 1 each. So it was quite inconclusive which one was the best one. And then me and Marit cupped it the day after quickly while they were kind of roasting, and then it was quite clear, I think.
Very.
Yeah.
It was really hard to decide.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, sometimes the differences are quite small, so it might be a cup variation as well. So we didn't do a huge amount of experimentation on this coffee because we kind of knew it from roasting a lot of Nascimento. We didn't have to kind of start fresh. Yeah, but for me at least, the reason why we have been competing for so many years is, even though we're just following our daily routine, we still learn something from it.
Yeah.
And we take some notes and try to implement that in our daily work. And yeah, for me it's, especially with the compulsory, I think it's very interesting because we do get coffees we have never roasted before, and you have to kind of think a little bit about how to roast it at least. We don't really theorize too much. I think a lot of the theories out there are, you know, good for theory, good for discussions, but not always so great for execution. So we're not the biggest on theory and the science behind the roasting. We're more of a practical team that we roast and we taste, and if we like it, we continue doing that, and if we don't, we look at how can we change. Yeah. Do you want to compete another year?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to discuss that, I think, as a team. Yeah. Because we've been competing for many years, and I think this was our 8th time winning, which, I mean, for me it's as fun every year. And the fun part is actually before, but I was really, really nervous when they were announcing.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So it is fun to compete, I think, but it's not for everyone. So, you know, for us it's a good way of measuring ourselves that if we're on the right track, because you're blind cupping your own coffee next to others. And a very good example of a person who learned a lot from the competition is Jørgensen from North in Norway. He competed for the first time 2 years ago, and his coffees came last. They were really, really roasty, and you know, you couldn't really taste any sweetness or anything. And now this year he came quite high. I think he came fifth place maybe, yeah.
That's awesome.
And he came, I think, top 3 in one of the categories. Is that right? So, and I talked to him afterwards, and he said, you know, competing for him has been a game changer, because he realized, you know, he had to kind of learn how to get to a quality level, because he had quality beans, but they didn't taste good until he figured out, okay, shit, my coffees are not so good. So, I think if you're worried about not winning or something, there is a lot of other stuff you can get from competing and pushing yourself, and at least get the feedback on the coffees, because we are cupping it blind. Cool. And you're sick now because of all the partying, or?
Partying and cupping with strangers. That's always interesting.
One of the fun parts about the symposium is, of course, the social aspect. And every evening we go out to eat, and I actually like it quite a lot. You get together in a room with 50 or 60 roasters, and you can really geek out on coffee for a whole weekend.
Yeah.
So it'll be next year in Oslo as well, at the same venue, and probably in September, October. So if you are curious about the event, you should really check it out. And if you want to taste our Nordic Roaster winning coffee, you can either sign up to our subscription. We have to do it really fast because we're sending it out first Wednesday of November.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to subscribe, you might have a chance of getting your hands on a bag through our web shop, because we will be roasting the last of it after our subscription has been sent out.
Do it.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right, that's it. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Jeg ruller deg en røyk, Marit, for det.